Hello, welcome back to Our Perspective. We are so glad to be back. We have had a wonderful couple weeks with Carmen. Now it's back to me and Mary Grace. And in this episode, we dive into what our kids are really called to be. This is something I wrote in my journal a long time ago after I had meditated or just read Proverbs 16:9. And it said, motherhood is to love who they were created to be, not who we want them to be. So in this episode, we really talk about just as parents, how do we let our kids be who God created them to be? And Mary Grace shares a really fun story when she went on a mission trip to New York and felt like she was really called into ministry. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Hello and welcome back to Our Perspective. It is back to just me and you now.
Which is so sad.
It is so sad. We had several weeks of Carmen, like me and Carmen and
Me and Carmen.
you and Carmen, and then all three of us. And I just felt like it was like such a sweet time.
Definitely.
Of just kind of like sharing all the different perspectives, and hearing Carmen's perspective, I felt like was just the sweetest.
She's so pure.
Yeah, she is.
I love
pure.
her.
I do too. So it was fun hearing about just like different things that Carmen wanted to share. We talked a lot about communication in the last couple of weeks, and how all the communication, like you guys, even the last episode when I wasn't in that one, and you and Carmen were just talking about your communication styles and just how different they were, and how like you guys had fought so much until Carmen really just understood, like, that's just not how you communicate.
For sure.
And I thought that was just, just for parents out there, what we really, really wanted to like kind of just point out in those episodes were just really getting to know the communication style of your child.
Yeah.
And it's
so important.
So important. And then like for me, like the bonus was like, okay, yeah, like I understand you guys now, right? I really poured in. But then when you guys started, that started overflowing into y'all's relationship, and you guys wanted to understand how you guys communicated. I just like what the fruit of that forever is like, I just can see how close that all three of you guys are going to be.
Yeah. So good.
Because you guys really understand just how you guys communicate. So, and just like, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, like what frustrates you, what frustrates Carmen. So I think that was just really powerful. So I hope parents, I hope that's what you got out of it. And I hope it just really encouraged you to lean in to your kids and like understand how they communicate, like even the different frustrations, all of that kind of stuff. So it was fun having her. We do have something fun coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I'm excited.
Stay tuned.
But this week, what I thought, like kind of getting back to Mary Grace and I and our little rhythm, and just when we talk about parenting our kids, I think sometimes as they start growing up, we have like dreams for them.
Yeah.
And I remember so many times just having dreams, like seeing like Mary Grace's strengths, like, and seeing like the things that she just loved to do. And then me dreaming about who she was going to be. And I would be like, gosh, have you ever thought of doing this? Have you ever thought of doing this profession? Have you ever thought of like, gosh, you'd be so great at this, whatever that was. And I remember so many times, I don't want to do that. I wouldn't do that. I don't want to do that. Remember one time I'm like, why don't you like learn all about sports? Because I could totally see you being like a sportscaster or like on the field during the Super Bowl interviewing the coaches. And she's like, I would never do that. I'm like, really? Because I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
Do you remember me
I
saying
do remember that, yeah.
And you're like, I would never do that. I'm like, that's kind of crazy because I could totally see you doing that.
Yeah.
So I think as parents, like if we're really honest with ourselves, I think that we sometimes have and I remember doing it for Thomas, I remember I'm excited about him coming on. I feel like it's going to be a million episodes with him because we talk about him all the time. But I just remember like having dreams of what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I'm going to be really honest, like he was such a he was such a great kid. I can't wait till we share some stories. But I thought for sure he was going to be a pastor. Like
Really?
100%.
Interesting.
Remember, I mean, he would be praying at our summer explosions, and you were too little.
I was so little.
It wasn't called summer explosion. It was called summer explosion. I
Yeah,
think.
summer explosion.
At our church, over it was our children's ministry, like our VBS,
Like the summer camp.
Yeah, and he was asked like in first grade to like pray over these kids, and I was just like, it's my little pastor up there. And he was like such a really great communicator. I really didn't even think, I never cared about like, even though he's brilliantly smart, I was like, it doesn't matter because he's just gonna be a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100% hands down.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really did. He was the only one out of the three of you that I thought would go into ministry.
Wow.
I was wrong.
Very wrong.
He's going to forestry. He loves the trees. But I honestly, if we were talking and dreaming about you, like I never really thought that you would go into ministry at all. Like that wasn't even something. It wasn't even like, it didn't cross my mind. I thought you were going to do remember when you wanted to be a middle school teacher so bad?
Forever. That's what I always want to do.
That's basically ministry.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, I was trying to write for my college I'm going to, like, I was trying to write this like pre-ministerial like scholarship thing. I had to like fill this out. And literally like every job I've ever wanted is like basically ministry.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it yet.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
That is really cool. So I think my heart in this episode is like understanding the heart of your child and understanding like they have plenty of time to figure it out. Because honestly, even I look at Thomas like going into, college, and he was studying he was gonna go engineering, and then he was gonna study business. And then I love how God just orchestrated his steps into forestry, and like that's a million stories, a million miracle stories that
he like
we
really
get to
even knew
share.
what forestry was before he went to college.
We did not know at all what forestry was.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. We're gonna share that story with him, because even how God orchestrated that is incredible. Because I didn't even know forestry existed, and obviously it does. So that's a story that I would love.
Obviously it does.
Yeah, I would love for him to share. He's gonna share that story, but I really want us to, like, as parents, I think sometimes we can get really caught up in like what I think, even like it's like more of a worry, maybe not, but like what you're going to do, and I really never cared about success, because I've never really cared about
like
that.
it wasn't ever about the money.
No. It wasn't about like the, quote unquote success, money, but I really wanted you guys to be, I did want you to be successful, but not in the sense of like money. I wanted you to like do what you were born to do.
Yeah.
Like what broke your heart? Like what were you passionate about? So like every single day that you guys would go, because I feel like I go to work every single day. Not that I had no idea that ministry existed growing up.
Yeah.
So it was nothing that I was called into. I mean, I was called into ministry, but I mean, it wasn't that I knew that from a young,
like grew up.
Growing up, like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely called into ministry.
Yes.
But just like you, like when you say that, I can look back on my whole life and see how God has called me into ministry since I was young and dreaming about what I wanted to do.
For sure.
And it was all ministry, because, I ended up into psychology, studied psychology with a master's in psychology, and just like people, I just loved people. And I think like God definitely was like, okay, you want to go your route, but we're going to use all of that, and we're going to use it in ministry. Yeah. And then I even loved how I started ministry. I mean, let me just be really honest. Like we were volunteering at church. I was volunteering in the kids ministry. And I was asked, hey, do you want to be, I had a great job. Like I had a great job, but you were just born. I had no time with you. And then like they were asking us like, they were asking me like, hey, would you be one of the pastors at our church's assistant? And I was like, how do I go from like a director of a program? I was like the director of a program
Yeah.
to a pastor's assistant. But then I started thinking, I'm like, you know what? I'm not really home. Mary Grace is a baby. I'm working like 60 hours a week. This church has Fridays off. I'm not joking. Like, this was my thought process. It has Fridays off. There's nice people that work there. I can take a year off of my job and then go work there until you turn like 3, and then I was going to put you in school.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
You didn't know the story?
No.
That's my thought process. And that's how I started working at Grace Family Church. Isn't that crazy?
I don't know
So
what to say.
it wasn't even like, it wasn't something that I was like, oh my gosh, like it was flexible. I had 3 little babies and I wanted to be home more. And then we had mommy and me days on Friday, remember?
Best day ever. I feel like we should take me out of school. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Everybody was in school and you weren't. And then every Friday we'd have mommy and me day.
The best day.
Those were the best days. And it was super flexible. But even then I didn't know what this but I love how God was orchestrating every single step. I had my own plans and God was orchestrating every step. And it was like, I can look back to college, I can look back to grad school, I can look back to even as a kid, how God was literally orchestrating every step. I feel like there were times where I was going my own way and he just like nudged me.
You can't mess up God's plan for your life.
You can't. And he would like nudge me in a certain way. So then it was just in all preparation to where I sit today. Right? But the coolest thing though, as a parent then, is like letting God do that for our kids.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes that's not easy. Like, so I have all of these plans for all of you, but I love like how God orchestrates your plans. So I thought this would be a fun episode to talk about just kind of how you were led into ministry, because that's where you want to go.
Yes.
And so kind of where did that start and how did you really say, okay, yeah, I really do feel like God's calling me into this?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much my whole life I wanted to be a teacher of like some sort. It was like I just wanted to be a teacher, and then kind of when I got into middle school, I was like, I really want to be like a middle school teacher. Like middle schoolers are kind of always like looked down upon. Like no one really likes teaching middle school, so like I want to be the person that's like, I love teaching middle school, like stuff like that. And so and really like,
And you had some pretty great middle school teachers.
oh, I had so many great teachers.
Yeah.
And so and I was tough in middle school, and so they were really kind to me.
They were.
But yeah, I wanted like the more I think and like look back, it's more of like I just love like I had such a heart for people, and so like I wanted to be the teacher that was like, oh man, like my students were like, I had such a great teacher that like loved me and like saw me and like they knew me, and so I wanted to be that person. And then kind of like freshman year, I went on a mission trip to New York with you and Carmen. And honestly, I didn't really want to go. Like at first, it was during spring break. I was like, nope, we could be at the beach, like doing anything else instead of in New York where it was freezing. And yeah, you kind of just told me we're going on it. So I didn't say no. And then we went, and like really the first time I remember like ministry even just being like an option was in New York when our pastor Chad, who was like the leader of our like the missions group, he was in charge of our missions group, and he kind of like the moment we stepped off the plane and he introduced himself, like really started calling ministry out of me. Like he didn't even really know me at all.
No,
like
he didn't. He didn't know you at all.
never met. Yeah. And so it was like really random. We knew nothing about each other. And then kind of the more like you're hanging out, obviously he's leading us and he's hanging out with us like in our discussion time, like at the end of the night and stuff like that. And so I think really like he saw my heart for people, and like really from the beginning he like specifically was like, Mary Grace, you are made for ministry. And so yeah, and then kind of throughout that week, like we were there for a week, and he really did like he would call like intentional stuff out, like, Mary Grace, like you're a communicator, like you can communicate well and like clearly, and like you can like kind of like you're a great leader, like you can guide people, like you're a galvanizer, things like that. And just like specific things that like I'd always like heard people say that about me, but it never like was like, oh well, that means like I should go into ministry. Like it never like I never thought that. And then kind of like the last day of the trip, we were doing this outreach thing, and he kind of handed me a mic and was like, all right, you're hosting for us, like you're leading for us. And like I was like, okay, like, I don't even know what I was supposed to do. Like it was like this super like abstract setup, and like we had a few speakers, and like this like a bunch of tables set out with like some diapers and like formula and just like
Yeah.
stuff for all these families, because we were in the middle of like a quad in like a bunch of apartments. And basically we sat there and I spoke on the mic, and the speakers were loud enough for the people inside the apartment to hear me.
Yep.
And Pastor Chad told me, okay, here you go. Like that was my only instruction, and he did not tell me what to do. He didn't like tell me what to say. And truly, like it's not even about the mic or like the authority that the mic gave me, but more of like I really was stepping into the authority of like the calling that God put on my life.
I love
And like
it. Yeah.
it was like so specific, and that's when it like clicked. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is what I was made to do." Like I wasn't made to be a teacher. I was made to be in ministry. And like obviously everything you do is ministry.
Of
Like
course.
any job you
Yes.
do is ministry. A corporate
Mhm.
job,
Yep.
working
You're
in a
so good.
church, working in a school,
Mhm.
whatever. Like truly anything you do is ministry if
Mhm.
you do love the Lord and like you make it like that. Um but I do believe like being in ministry and working in a church, working with like people is such a specific calling.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I just feel like it's a calling. Like it's not like I want to do this, but it's like God's asking me to do this, and I'm going to be obedient and like give up the money, give up, like sacrifice so much. And so um yeah, so we were out on the quad, and like I had the mic, and really like I just remember, like, we had worship music playing, and I literally was just speaking kinda to no one until people started coming down. And then that's really, like, we saw people, there was kids, like, opening up their windows because their parents wouldn't let them come down alone, but they had their windows open, like, listening and, like, just, like, worshiping. It was, like, the coolest experience of my life. And then pretty much from that day on, like, I've never looked back. Like, it's
Yeah.
always been ministry. And, like,
Mhm.
the more and more, like, just, like, literally from that day, it's, like, every single thing, I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense, like, God is so clear, and, like, he's so, like, just revealing in everything that, like, I've ever done in my life is, like, made for ministry.
Mhm. I think, like, I just sometimes I'm like, how was I, in spaces to watch you and Carmen and Thomas. Like, I feel like God was just been so kind to me.
Mm.
And I was on that mission trip with
Yeah.
you guys, because I'm doing family ministries at the time, and I was doing youth at the time. Still I am, but I remember being asked to go on this mission trip. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, girls are gonna go. And I remember telling you, hey, we're going. Carmen was really excited because her and I had already gone on a mission trip before.
Yeah.
You really hadn't, and you just weren't excited.
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't, like, against it,
no,
I just
no,
wasn't excited.
yeah, you just weren't excited.
And I think I didn't know what to expect.
None of your friends were on it.
All my friends were, like, going on these crazy trips. I
Sure.
was
Like,
"Okay."
and they were planning their fun spring break.
Yeah.
It was your freshman year. First year in high school.
It was a tough year, we've talked about
Mhm.
that.
Yep. And so it was so beautiful for me to watch him, Pastor Chad, who was, the leader of this organization that we went to do missions in New York, like out, the kind of the outskirts of New York, or just like very,
Brooklyn,
yeah,
Bronx, yeah.
yeah, poor area. And from the minute he met you, I don't know what it was. I mean, it was like, it was so kind of Holy Spirit driven,
Yeah.
but like you said, he just started calling things out.
Mhm.
Hey, you're a leader. Hey, you're a communicator.
Mhm.
Like, just naming those things.
Or he would, like, put me in positions to, like, lead,
Mhm.
and he wouldn't give me any instruction, he would just
Mhm.
tell me to do it.
Yep. And then watching you for the first time, like, step into those spaces
Yeah.
with more confidence, right? Because he was calling that out in you. And
Mhm.
I do believe that last day, it was just like, I know, Pastor Nate and I, it was so fun to watch you.
Mhm.
Um, all of you
Yeah,
guys.
of
But I mean,
course.
Carmen was on that trip. I felt like he called a lot of stuff out on Carmen. A lot of the girls and guys on that trip.
Yeah.
But you're right. Then all of a sudden there's speakers, there's worship music playing. I felt like you would position yourself at a table handing out diapers, and he came and is like, "No, you've got the mic.
Yeah.
I need you to get everybody," because there was like these tall buildings,
Yeah.
and everybody was in these tall like
Apartments.
apartments, and And he's like, I need you to get people out of the apartments and down here. And you guys had worship music playing. You were singing in the microphone.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were, it was
so authentic.
It was super authentic. And I felt like it was remember we had gone door knocking and
Yeah.
there was like such darkness in some of these.
Yeah, it was scary.
It was like we were knocking on doors and just sharing the gospel. And, it was just really dark. We just walked into
You
some
could feel the
yeah, you could
darkness.
feel the darkness. And I felt like watching you and the team, it just felt like you just brought so much light into that area. And then it was we were like looking up at these buildings and like windows were opening up, people were coming down. And then everyone else was like managing the people, right? You were like doing your part. And then all the other kids were like handing out the diapers, praying over kids, praying over families, and getting to know different families. And it was just so amazing to watch you step into that. And as a mom, watching that was incredible.
Yeah.
And then just hearing you afterwards, and I think hearing you after, like when we got back from the mission trip and like your excitement, and then that changed everything as you walked into United.
For sure.
Because then you were then like, I want, like, because I love how you said, like, mission is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to go to New York on a mission trip.
Yeah.
You don't need to go even out of the country for a mission trip. Like, we should be living on mission every single day.
Every day.
And I felt like you came back and started living out
Yeah.
your mission every single day.
So true.
And you started doing that at United. I think you were a stronger student leader because of it, because now I feel like you understood and knew your calling and your purpose, and now you're living it out. And I think that is such a difference.
Yeah.
And then as a parent, you can kind of sit back and be like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they were meant to do.
Yeah.
And so, so some of the ways that I think we can do that as parents, it's to encourage you or to see you, see what your kids do that light up. Like, when your kids light up after doing something, like, take note in that. Because that whole week, like, she was from a girl that was like, ugh, okay, I guess I want to go. I don't know if I want to go. I guess we're going to go. Mom's making me go. To like, all of a sudden, like, she just, like, every day, you just started lighting up more and more and more. And so as parents, we should like lean into that. Take note of like, what are they doing in their like day-to-day life that really lights them up?
Yeah.
And if they're not doing those things, then how do you get them in spaces where they can?
Are. Yeah.
How do you get them in spaces where they can do that? And it's not mission. I'm like, your ministry, you're going to go into ministry, but like Thomas isn't going to ministry. Carmen's not going into ministry. But watching Thomas, like, I remember he was like, I want to do engineering. I want to do engineering. I want to do engineering. Okay. So then putting him in spaces where he was doing like engineering things, right? And I like in his school that there was like this whole engineering program. He's like, or engineering track. And he's like, he's like, we're doing a podcast. You didn't invite me. Thomas.
Charlie got a haircut. It's so ugly.
Charlie just showed up. And so come on. And so, I remember there was this engineering track that he wanted to be on, and I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's take these classes. And it was so great because instead of him lighting up, it like diminished his light.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want to do engineering. And it was great. Like, we had these conversations. Well, why don't you want to do engineering? Like, I feel like your brain still works that way. You love all of this. And it's like, it was so funny. He's like, I love doing these engineering things, but I remember him saying like, it's taking the fun out of it when I have to like actually do it as a, like, in his school, it was like pretty intense. It's taking the fun out of what I love about an engineering track. So I just saw like where for her, it was like this bright light started shining. For Thomas, it started diminishing his light. And he started like, I don't like that. So then we went into this business route because he's like, it's easy, like business. We went, but it was so funny because I know my child and I know Thomas, like we know our kids. Like he was like, I'm going to business, and he had this great internship working with a financial advisor, and I'm watching her and I'm watching Thomas, and I'm like,
This isn't for Thomas.
This isn't for Thomas. Like, he's not a bulldog. Like, he's not out there, like, he's not gonna go out there and just, like, you know, like bulldoze his way into things. Like, he is so kind and he's so gentle. So then I started really worrying as a parent. Like, oh my gosh, now he's going to business. Now what is he gonna do? I don't know what he's gonna do. And I just feel like God's like, what are you worried about?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he was in Alabama. He started, and I'll let him share some of these stories too, but he started sharing his, he started like hunting and being out in nature, and then like God just orchestrated this beautiful path for him in forestry.
Yeah, he did.
So as parents, are we asking questions like what even, and you might think like it's not about their career either. Like I just want you to make sure, like, I'm not talking about their career. I'm talking about what they were created to be.
Yeah.
Like who they were created to be, like what lights them up, you know? And even Carmen, we could talk about this later with her too, but, as she went to college and started opening up herself to things, like what really, she started lighting up to things. And I'm like, spend more time doing that.
Yeah.
Do volunteer stuff with that, Carmen. And then she started doing those things, and like it's just like this light just started brightening and brightening and brightening, which is what she was like that's what she's called to do. So, this was, I just wanted to, like, I told Mary Grace, I'm like, share the story of New York, because I think that was the first time that you really felt like, okay, this is truly, I'm not just like dreaming of like, oh, I want to be a teacher. Oh, I want to do this. Like, no, this is where God's calling me.
Yeah.
This is what he's calling me to do. So as parents, like one of the things, like, I feel like all of what I always talk about, moms and dads, is like slow down and watch your kids. Like slow down and spend some time with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down and watch when their eyes get bright and they get excited about something. They come home like super excited about what they were meant to be. I can't wait. It's not even a part 2, but this next episode, what we're going to talk about is, I think, the first time even though this was like her moment, there was a moment where for me, I'm like, okay, this is where I know Mary Grace is going to ministry, and we'll share that story in the next episode.
Ooh,
but yeah,
okay.
I'm super excited. And you're like, ooh, okay.
Can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah. But, so just like things like, it's like just some other things that we can do for our kids is like, just believe in them. Like if they have a dream, like let them share the dream, do it, like just do that. And we'll talk about that in the next episode. As we wrap up this episode, I wrote this in a journal one time, and I wrote it here. It's Proverbs 16:9, but I wrote this in my journal. Motherhood is to love who they were created to be, not what you want them to be. I wrote that a long time ago in a journal. Motherhood is to love who they were created to be, not what you want them to be. And Proverbs 16:9 says, the heart of a man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps. And I think as parents, I hope we can lean into the peace that God gives us to know that he actually establishes our steps. Like he knows exactly what he wants for you.
Yeah.
He knows what he has called you to be, how passionate he's made you. And sometimes as parents, we need to get out of the way and let God do what God's going to do. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm super guilty of being in the middle of the way, trying to orchestrate everyone's steps to make sure everything's the way that they're happy or they're this. And I've learned when talking about what God has for you, sometimes I just have to get out of God's way.
Yeah.
And
it's up to God.
Yeah. And what he's speaking to you.
Oh, for sure.
And trusting my kids that this is how God is speaking to you.
Well, and that goes back to our podcast of like trusting that we've surrounded our kids with people that are going to speak life into them and going to speak their calling over them.
Yeah. I know. Because really right after that trip is when we came back, and
I was connected to Pastor Alec, and then like everything.
I mean, like
fell in line.
It all fell in line. Like we went on that trip in spring break. That clash is
Yeah.
when I met Allie, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love her. And then it was right after clash that I was like, I need to put Allie and Mary Grace together. So gosh, God is so cool.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, this is as we wrap up this episode, I encourage you to just, like one of the things even Carmen, I love when Carmen said this in a couple episodes back. She's like just memorizing scripture, how important it is because it comes to the forefront. So even as we were talking about this, like, Proverbs 16:9 came to the forefront. I'm like, this is the anchor I want this episode to be on. So I encourage you guys to go to that verse, memorize that verse, repeat that verse, and just realize, like, no matter what stage of life, if you've got littles, if you've got middle schoolers, if you've got some that are about to go off to college, just, meditate on this verse and know, like, God's got this.
Yeah.
He has their steps, every step orchestrated. We can plan, but his plan is always better and higher than ours anyway.
100%.
So just lean into that. So we hope this episode left you better than we found you, and we will see you guys next time.
Go leave people better.